Welcome to Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy.
I'm Eric G, and welcome to Around the House Northwest, a brand new show here to help you with your home. A little bit about me. I'm a certified kitchen designer. I have designed thousands of kitchens around the Pacific Northwest, including designing, remodeling, and building. So I have done it, I have seen it, I've designed it, and I've built it, so I can help you with your next project. We're gonna tackle a lot of different things in this show, so every week you're gonna get something brand new for your house. We're gonna be talking with different pros across the country that can help you with that project. We're gonna be even designing things to make things look better, and a lot of different projects to save you money as well. We are gonna tackle all these different things, and we're gonna have a great time doing it.
Perform like a pro.
Today we're gonna tackle a project I've been meaning to do for a long time. I've got this dog door, and if you've got dogs, they're a great thing to have. The problem with this one is anything can come in here, weather, other people's pets, raccoons. I mean, you could even have somebody else's cat or even a person if you've seen Home Alone. Nobody wants that. So today we're gonna actually replace this one with a home tech solution that'll make it so only my dogs are gonna come in and out of it. First thing we're gonna do, let's take this thing apart and get the new one in. Don't forget the safety glasses. All right, now that we got the demo out of the way, it's time to start installing the new one. If I was just gonna be cutting a hole in it, would be actually a little easier because you just have to cut the whole opening to size. This one here is a little smaller since we're actually doing a powered door. I don't have to have this big flap thing in the way. So this one here, they say it's about 12 7/8 wide by about 17 1/4 high. That means I need to create a new smaller opening and get this filled in. Looks like I'm gonna have a little drywall repair to do. Time to cut some lumber, get some measurements. That's where a new dog door opening is gonna be. So let me get the nailer here and let's get this thing together. If you have a screw gun, you can easily do it this way. I just have the nail gun, which makes it fun. And it's not something that you have to worry about doing. All right, let's get it in here now. Sometimes it takes a little persuasion to get it in there. Now I gotta take care of the one thing I don't like doing, insulation. A little housekeeping here to keep the weather in or out and the good stuff in. So let me cut some stuff for this, make this work. Now the secret to insulation is not to jam this stuff in there too tight. You just kind of want it to come in here and take up the space. All right, I'm gonna use this finished tapered edge because with drywall, they bring this back so it gives you more room to mud, so it doesn't have a high spot. I'm gonna put this up here. That way, it gives me a little bit more to work with. You'll never see it, but it just makes the job a little bit easier when you're doing drywall. All right, guys, it's time to install the dog door. There is a little trick. You can order the tunnel kit that goes right here, and it actually takes up the space in here and finishes off with a matching piece of plastic. I'm gonna put a trim in there so it matches the rest of the house, so that'll be done later. Let's put the door in. This literally is gonna sit right in this opening. I just gotta put some screws in. Pretty simple. All right, now this is the fun part to me. This is the home tech stuff. I've got the app all set up on my phone. I can sit here and control it with my phone if I need to. I can set up schedules. I can set up notifications that if it doesn't open or something happening wrong with it, I can actually see it anywhere in the world as long as I have Wi-Fi. Now it's really simple. This goes around the dog collar and guess what? It walks up, door opens up, dog goes outside, does its thing, door shuts behind it, saving me energy, and then when it wants to come back in again, it just comes right back in and the door shuts behind it. This is gonna save my energy bill a lot, put some money back in my pocket, and it looks pretty good and it's easy to do. Now that's a win for everybody, including my dogs. It took me a couple days of pet training to be able to get those dogs to come through there. So don't be surprised if they get scared by that new Star Trek door where you got to take the dog up. Mine actually had to push through a few times to get them to use the door. But they do, and they absolutely love it, and it's just become natural to them. So don't be scared the first time you put that in.
Now it's time for Made in the Northwest.
We're at Steelport Knife Company. I've got some fun stuff to show you. Let's go. All right, let's talk Steelport Knife Company. I love this. We're in Portland. It's all made here locally. What got you into building knives, man?
Steelport is a reaction to why have we never had a proper American kitchen knife?
Right.
And we feel that knives got worse about 50 years ago when we just started stamping them and make them out of stainless steel instead of carbon steel. And Steelport, we're on a mission to just reintroduce American forged carbon steel kitchen knives.
Well, let's talk about building knives because you guys start out, this is made in USA and as made as Portland as you can get. Let's talk about the metal because that's, of course, where you're starting with a knife.
Yeah, so everything we use is made in the U.S. and sourced in the U.S. So all our raw materials, steel, pins, everything. We don't produce any raw steel in Oregon, so our steel comes from the Midwest. But we chose a 52100 ball bearing steel, which was not originally designed to be a knife grade steel. Knife makers a long time ago realized that it just hits everything that we were looking for in a knife. So as far as the sharpenability, durability, edge retention, everything that you're looking for in a kitchen knife, you can get with 52100 with a proper heat treat. Forging's not the easiest thing. The steel does not move very well, but it's worth it at the end.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've done some metal work with drop forging and stuff like that. It's totally cool, but it's so different than what you guys do compared to like an assembly line.
Yeah, most of our processes have to be done one at a time, and a lot of the stuff is still done freehand just because we haven't figured out an easier way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, carbon steel, it can get harder and finer grained than a stainless steel, and we chose to forge it because that is just the most durable way to make a blade. So one, you have the, once our knives are patinaed, you can actually see the way the steel grain flows through it. And we chose a lifting hook as our symbol because a lifting hook has to be forged. It can't be stamped, it can't be cast, it will fail on you every time. So our S is a lifting hook because that is the most durable way to construct a knife. And it's the only way if you want a integral bolster, if you want your knife to be just one solid piece.
Yeah.
You know, we have no pins, no soldering lines, welds on it. It's just one solid piece.
That's great. That's great. And then you guys, once you get into that, you start polishing things, correct? Once you get into that.
We go through a 24-hour polish. It goes through a tumble and comes out with a mirror finish on it, and then it's much easier to use that way. So we find that a lot of people, this is their first carbon steel knife, and everybody kind of scared them about carbon steel, and they're like, okay, what's the big deal? Yeah. And we have people that are coming in from using the traditional Japanese knives or the old, French sabatiers, and they find that these are much less reactive because not only do we put the full polish on it, but we also pre-patina them.
Yeah. And then you guys are using what, coffee for that, you said?
Yeah, coffee is, we are a Portland cliche because we're using coffee. But
can't use donuts.
We actually, but we tried everything. In my defense, we tried everything on the way to coffee. So we looked at vinegars, wines, teas, anything that is acidic and natural. Because normally I would just use ferric chloride to etch a blade, but we're trying not to use any harmful products.
Sure.
So yeah, coffee ended up with the best result for us, and with our level of finish, it brings up again that grain flow. People, some blades almost look like they're Damascus steel, but they're not.
Yeah.
And it brings out our heat treat. And we would have to do that at some point. We would have to patina our blade as a quality check.
Sure.
Right. So if there's any flaws in the steel, any cold spots, any hot spots where they're not supposed to be, then we would have to scrap that blade. So we have to check it anyway, and we decide to do it at the end of the process as proof to the customer that we got everything right.
Exactly. And then you guys get into the wood. I mean, these handles are absolutely gorgeous. I love working with wood, and what you guys are doing there is spectacular.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the fun parts is the wood. We pick the grain very carefully. We use Oregon big leaf maple. Okay. We just use the burl part, and we get it fully kiln dried, which is what most people consider a stabilized wood, but we do a resin stabilization on it. So wood looks great and feels great on a handle. There's nothing better than that, but it's actually not the best choice of handle material if it's just plain dried and oiled. So if you see old wooden handles, they're always, cracked or swollen off, and they don't look. Yeah. So what we do is we actually put them in a vacuum chamber, suck out all the air, and replace it with a hardenable resin. And then once it's fully saturated, we bake it hard, and then it's basically a non-porous material. So it's not gonna, shrink and swell and absorb like a regular wooden handle, so it's much more durable, it's easier to polish, and it just comes out looking better.
So how do people find you guys, and where can they buy your knives?
So if you're local here to Portland, definitely recommend coming down to the factory, just because you can see the process, you can talk to us, and you'll have the largest selection to choose from. All the knives look differently, the grain flow is different, the heat treatment line is going to be slightly different, and the burl is definitely different, even though if it comes from the same exact batch and the same tree. So if you're local, definitely come see us. But we are in about 60 retailers around the country, specialty knife shops, and then we're also at Sur La Tables around the country. And you can always just buy online too.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me down here, man. This is great, and what you guys are doing is just absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for coming down.
Who knew? This was right here in Portland in our backyard. Support our local people. You might need a knife. I know I sure do. Now, coming up after this, we're going to have a couple great things to talk about. One, we're going to be talking about mold. You know that stuff that's all around your house? Maybe you don't even know it's there. We've got one of the best experts in the country on to talk about that. We're going to talk about a broken pipe. How do you fix it? What's the right pipe to use when you do it? All that and more coming up after these important messages. Don't go anywhere.
You're watching Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy. Welcome back to Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy.
Welcome back to Around the House Northwest. I'm Eric G. I've got 30 years of interior design, kitchen and bath, and building experience tackling every kind of project out there. I've also got my national radio show and podcast called Around the House. I bring in a lot of people that are experts across the industry. Those people, we're going to bring into a new segment here called Open House. That way you get to learn from the people that have taught me so much over the years. Today we're going to talk with a mold expert because, it's that time of year. What do we have? Mold everywhere. It's outside, inside. You might not even know you have it. And after watching this, you're going to be surprised. I bet you're dealing with it wrong. I knew I did. Now, let's get to talking about mold.
Now it's time for Open House, sponsored by Pyramid Heating and Cooling.
All right, today we've got Andrew Pace, a nationally recognized expert on green and healthy building products. He is the founder of the oldest healthy building supply company here in the United States. And to me, he's the single most helpful guy out there as far as dealing with healthy building stuff. Hey, brother, welcome to Around the House Northwest.
Eric, it is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you today.
Man, thank you, man. This is great. And you are my go-to guy here. I've got a few people I chat with, but when it comes to dealing with mold, you're the one I bend the ear on because this is something that, man, you have dealt with for so long.
I have. I started my company about 30 years ago, and the entire premise of the company was to sell healthy, common sense building materials and remodeling materials. At the time, green was just still a color. It wasn't the way of life or a religion the way it is now. So over the years, I have found that not only is it an issue with building materials and the chemical off-gassing and what it can do inside of the home that's problematic, but how the building or the home was built, how was it put together, how is it maintained, which is causing now all of these mold problems that we're finding all throughout the country. It doesn't matter whether you're living in a dry state, a wet state. It really, the climate doesn't matter. It's how the home was built, how it's maintained, and what do you do about it?
You know, it's funny. I was just walking my dog here yesterday down the street, and 5 houses down, there's a brand new house being built.
Hmm.
It has the beautiful glass garage doors
Mm.
with the glass on them, with the frosted glass. It's a $2 million house.
Mhm.
They're just getting ready to turn that thing over to new homeowners, and I can see the water running down the inside of the
Ah,
glass.
unbelievable.
And we
I think
know
the
what's going to happen there.
Oh yeah, I think the building industry doesn't do a good enough job in educating their customers on what's going to happen when you move in that house. The average home, the 2,200 square foot home that's built in the US these days has somewhere between 300 to 500 gallons of moisture in the air just from the construction process. That's the curing concrete, the curing paint, the drywall mud, the water coming out of the wood and so forth. And so what you describe is that moisture coming down on the inside of the glass. That's going to happen once the family moves in there, when they actually start to utilize this home. And this is where, again, the builders need to tell their clients, here's how you deal with this for the first 2 years, because it's going to take at least that to get that moisture out.
No question. No question. Well, one of the things that I think that people don't really understand is mold cleanup. And I get questions where, hey, I'm just going to hit it with some bleach or some spray on
Mm.
cleaner, and I've just
Right.
removed all the mold away. It's magic. And I've
Ugh.
learned through you that that is not the case and maybe not the way to handle it.
No, not at all. I mean, that is the quintessential band-aid approach to taking care of a problem. Going to see a doctor and say, my arm hurts. Okay, well, take an aspirin, you'll feel better. Doesn't solve the problem. It just takes care of that initial reason why you're there. And same thing is true with mold. And I think it's helpful right at the outset to describe the difference between surface mildew and mold. Okay. And I will say this. I am not the end all be all expert on mold. I am not a scientist that deals with this day in and day out. I'm the person who I get calls all throughout the day and night from clients saying, I'm dealing with this problem. What do I do? And so the first thing I find out from them is it mildew or is it mold? Because those terms are used interchangeably too often. Mildew essentially is a type of mold that's a superficial color, let's just say superficial growth that you can easily just wipe off the surface and it's gone. Mold is essentially mildew that's allowed to fester and actually grow roots into the surface. And so when you hit it with something like a bleach, which is this is what a lot of people will say, the old timers will say, oh, just spray some bleach on, it'll be fine. All you're doing is cleaning off or discoloring the surface mildew, but the roots still exist and it will come back, and it will come back stronger than you took it off.
And it's everywhere at that point.
Right. Right.
So, what do you recommend? I mean, there's a lot of different products and stuff out there, but if you've got, I know it's every situation's different. If you've got, mold in your attic, it's different than, hey, I got mold on my shower wall in my bathroom, for instance.
Right. And I think that's, the first step in addressing this is determining where exactly it is it in the home and what's causing it. I think that all too often we try this band-aid approach. So let's take care of the mold, but why do we have mold? What's the source of the moisture? What's the source of the food that mold is feeding off of? And if we can solve those issues, now dealing with the mold becomes the second step. Okay, we've taken care of the problem. Let's take care of that acute situation. Now, how do you deal with it? There's a myriad of ways to deal with it. The problem that I am finding is that our industry is in the construction industry, the mold remediation industry is driven highly by the insurance companies,
Sure.
and they are still pushing these old fashioned methods of dealing with mold where you are opening up a wall, you are scrubbing everything down with a water based solution of some sort, and then you are HEPA vac and then coating it with another water-based solution, which actually essentially becomes inert itself after about 6 months, and then you close it back up again. 2 years later, the family is calling back up because they have mold problems again. Because the entire process, they've added more moisture to the situation. So, and this is what the insurance companies have been recommending, because this is how we do it. It's that old mentality of, well, we've been doing it this way forever, so we'll just keep on doing it even though it doesn't work. I've taken a completely different approach. I've taken the approach of, maybe we should try something different and trust some science for a change, some real science. So we started working with a company years ago called Alistogen. They make a product called Callowell. Callowell is a water-based acrylic coating that is made with a high amount of calcium hydroxide, which is lime. Calcium hydroxide raises the pH to about 13, and it stays at that level for a minimum of 5 to 6 years. So not only will it kill mold on contact because of the high pH, but it stays active. And this has been EPA tested and EPA registered to do this. It stays active for a long period of time. By the 1 year mark, you should have taken care of the moisture issues and be done with it. But this gives you an extra few years to worry about it, just in case moisture gets back into that cavity. Now, of course, right now I am talking about what happens when you have mold behind a wall, like in a wall cavity behind a shower. This is really the best application for that product. There are other applications, whether it's underneath or on the basement ceiling, the floorboards and rafters, and you've got mold up there because of moisture coming up. In an attic, if the home was built years ago before somebody got the bright idea to ventilate the bathroom fans outside instead of into the attic.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So the Callowell can be used for all these applications, and it works very effectively without having to scrub, without having to HEPA vac, without having to do all these extra things. You just coat it twice and be done with it. Close it back up again.
That's simple. But at the same point, you've got it spot killed at that point. You still have to deal with either water intrusion or humidity that is out of control.
100%. And this is where, again, the mold experts or the mold remediators, they don't get involved in that too often. Why is mold, or why is water getting into that cavity? Is it a drainage issue? Is it a gutter issue on the house? Is it window flashings? Are the weep holes in the brick clogged? I mean, there's all these things that could cause moisture to get into that cavity. They don't do a good enough job investigating that. It's almost as if they appreciate knowing that there's going to be work for them down the road.
Amen, brother. Well, you and I could sit here and talk about mold for 2 hours, and I think we've done it before, so we don't have the time in the show today, but I want to bring you back on again, and we can dive into the subject a little bit more, because it's something that every homeowner has to deal with.
You got that right. I would love to. I would love to be able to swap some stories, good stories and some ugly ones too, because that's where we all learn from.
We'll do that next time, Andrew. Thanks for coming on today. Now, coming up, I found the world's smartest range that you could cook on even if you can't cook. As long as you can follow the directions and push buttons, you can have some amazing meals. And then I found a product we're going to be talking about that goes on the outside of your house. I hate painting my house, and the cool thing is you can put it on the outside and it has a 50-year warranty. All coming up. This is stuff you don't want to miss.
Around the House Northwest is sponsored by The Wall, the Pacific Northwest premier contractor for all your landscape and hardscape needs since 1985. Pyramid Heating and Cooling, thrive in the great indoors. And Standard TV and Appliance, best service, best selection, best people. Around the House Northwest is sponsored by Chevy Colorado. From outdoor enthusiasts to do-it-yourself diehards, the all-new 2023 Colorado is the boldest, most capable Colorado ever. Official truck of Around the House Northwest.
Welcome back to Around the House Northwest. Each and every week, we're going to be talking about new products for your home that I've found all across the world that you could put in your house. Now, this segment we call Hot for Your House. And this week, I was down actually at the biggest home and construction show in the entire world in Las Vegas. They call it Design and Construction Week. Now, I stopped in and talked to LG's signature line, their high-end ranges and refrigerators, and we dive into the greatest appliances that you can put inside your house.
Now it's time for Hot for Your House.
All right, here with Sue Bailey from Signature. This is a beautiful fridge.
It is a fabulous 48-inch French door. It's the industry first.
Never seen it.
Oh, you've got to open this door with me and let's see exactly how. Look at the beauty inside of this
That
piece.
is where the magic happens right
Yes. What's your favorite part about it? Besides the macaroons, of course.
there. Yeah, that's making me hungry. That's okay. That display is so cool and clean. I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. And what about the space in here? Charcuterie boards, whatever you need would be
Anything.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes. If I can get you to hold this for me a second, I want to show you a trick.
Okay.
Look at this. Lift and go. Bins.
Oh my gosh.
So great, so easy as you're getting things prepared from an entertaining. So think of this as an
man.
entertaining statement. Fully
Wow.
adjustable shelves. Notice even the lighting. We're going to make
See?
everything look great with the
Look at
lighting
that.
underneath. Yep.
Oh,
Internal water, fully adjustable. So again, it's going to fit the flexibility you need.
yeah. I love that internal water. It's not the messy thing outside.
Yeah.
You can have the front all sexy and you can still get to it.
Exactly. Now, what about for drinks? What do you like to drink? If we were going to need some ice, what do you think we need to do?
I have a craft ice at home.
Oh, so you
I
can
already
have
know
that right
what this does here.
Yeah.
My whiskey drinks need to have craft
Yep.
ice. When
So
they
it
go
would
right
have
in
it here. Yep. But though I'm not a craft ice drinker, so
Okay.
we get the cubed ice right here. So it's a dual
Right.
ice maker.
That
so we
is
get
cool.
2 of them. And then other thing, flex drawer. We call it a convertible drawer.
Nice.
It converts from a refrigerator to a freezer. So awesome. So a lot of things. We're having company over. Let's put the wine in there at 41 degrees.
That
We're
is
having the
cool.
kids come over for an ice cream sundae party. Let's put the ice cream in here so we can flex it as much as we need to.
Wow, so you got that flexibility. You're heading back from the warehouse store and you need a place.
Yep.
Now you have it.
This is it. And so we show it in stainless. It comes panel ready, meaning
Nice.
if I wanted to match the cabinetry.
Of course.
Perfect. Notice also, it lines up perfectly
Right?
with the belt line. So
Yeah, that's the beautiful part is that you can flush mount this.
Yep.
And it's just all nice and clean. It's not that thing sticking out in the middle of the room
Correct.
that's taking up that usable space.
Exactly. So I think this is a perfect refrigerator for everybody.
All right, so we have the Rolls-Royce Swiss Army knife of ranges right here.
Absolutely we do. Do you love to cook?
I love to cook.
Got a wife that loves to cook?
She loves to cook more than I do.
All right, then this is everything that she could possibly need. Know anything about sous vide?
I know it and I want it. I don't have it. That's what I know.
right. This is the only range in the industry that has a water bath sous vide. We're going to keep those temperatures precise to within 1 degree Fahrenheit. Do chicken, do vegetables, do whatever you want to. Beautiful. That alone would be enough for the range.
Right?
2 gas burners,
Oh.
23,000 BTUs with a reversible walk grate. We have
Oh,
indeed
I've
thought
never
of
seen
everything,
that.
which
That's
is
cool.
awesome. And then induction.
Oh.
We all know induction is a great way to heat, gets out the extra heat that is in there. So perfect. All 3 modalities on the top. You would think that would be enough,
You would think.
but no.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. But before we go to the oven, let's talk about smart knobs. So when you turn a smart knob on, you have the heat in red. Every knob is a timer. So you don't have to try to set Alexis or anybody else to tell her you when
So no
things
more
are done.
Alexa timers going?
That's exactly right. No more of that. Notice a great LCD display that we have for this wonderful steam oven. Can you push that cartridge out right there? Just push. Yep, that's where your water comes in. So nice and easy. Always fresh water when you're ready for it.
Wow.
And then notice we've got auto cook. I am not a good cook like you and your wife are. So with auto cook, I can tell it. Notice the full color. What I'm doing. It's going to tell me what temperature. It's going to tell me what rack to put
Oh
it
my
on. So
gosh.
even I can make a perfect roast from that standpoint. So we have lots of great things. We can tell it to start. Tells me my door's open.
It's
So
like,
we're
hey,
gonna
dummy.
shut it- yep.
And by the way, that is a cool door.
It is a cool door, so very clean door, a lot of capacity,
Yeah.
huge capacity. And notice the articulating handle so your foot doesn't get stuck underneath there.
Right.
So it's
No
a
more
great.
knocking the toes off
No
of
more,
the
and then
door handle.
it'll close nice and slowly also. So it is truly, as you said, a Rolls-Royce Swiss Army knife of ranges. This is the 36. We have a 48-inch also, so beautiful.
48 just end up having 2 more burners then,
That's
right?
exactly right. And a full steam oven in the 18-inch category.
Oh,
so
that's
it's good.
cool, too.
It is cool. So it's a
Best of
perfect
all
thing.
worlds.
All right. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. This thing's amazing. I think that range I need in my kitchen. Now, I found this stuff that can go on the outside of your house made by Fiberon. This is a cladding that goes on like a siding, but it has a 50-year warranty, so that means you could put that paintbrush away. Let's talk about this. I'm putting it on my house, so this is one of the things that I'm excited to talk about, this cladding.
Oh, that's fantastic. You're going to love this. Not only are you going to love this, but generations of your family will love this because we have one of the most sustainable products here. This product will last, we warrant it for 50 years for performance and the aesthetics of the board.
Wow. Never have to do anything with it, just keep it clean and I'm good to go.
Just enjoy it, yeah. Simple cleaning, hose it down with some water and you're good to go.
How is that sustainable? Are you just taking recycled materials or how does that work?
Yeah, we have up to 94% recycled content in these boards. So our cladding material is completely made from bottles that you'd find normally in a landfill. We repurpose them along with some wood flour, shavings from cabinet makers. We take those recycled materials in our own facility, combine them, and make them into this beautiful product.
Oh man, that is great. Let's take a look at this beautiful product because first off, I love how when this installs that you can cap it off and you can install it correctly but not have those big holes.
Right, you want a clean aesthetic. You don't want to focus in on, holes and things like that. So we have, multiple widths of boards, up to 12 inch, down to 6 inch. You can mix and match for a different aesthetic. You can use hidden fasteners with plugs made right from the material. So you really get a nice clean look on that building.
And you get that strong install because you've got it right face screwed through it and it still holds up, but still looks like it was never there to begin with.
Absolutely. So any type of elements that you have, wind-driven rain, even down in Miami-Dade where they have really stringent requirements, this will hold up.
Man, this is great. And I do love the different widths because you can do so much with that design-wise by mixing it up, or if you wanted to just go big scale, you can do it.
Yeah, designs are really, it's up to the designer and what they want to do. They can mix and match not only the widths, but you can also mix and match the colors. So you can take different colors, kind of do a gray theme or a brown theme or mix and match. In addition to this design, we also have in our Wildwood collection a second design.
Let's take a look.
Eden and Sahara are our two collections. Here you'll see a more traditional type of green look. You can again mix and match this. This is also in 12, 8, and 6 inch widths. One of the new colors, I'll grab a sample here. Thank you. This is a color that we just launched at the end of last year, Bamboo.
Pretty.
And we found this really trend toward these lighter oak type tones being used on a lot of buildings, also on interior flooring. We're bringing that look out onto the aesthetic of the outside of the building now.
Nice. So that is great. And I haven't seen this color ever before.
It's amazing. And with this design and this collection, you really need to see the big picture. Yeah. When you have the tones coming in, different streakers coming in, it really pops. You can see this coming down the road and neighbors are going to be jealous. You're going to really love it on your house.
That is gorgeous. And I love how we have two different feels here. This gives you one feel, this gives another. So really you've got multiple answers for whatever architectural needs you have in the front of a house.
Absolutely. Different aesthetics, different architectural tastes. From east to west, we've got all different types of styles. Creation's unlimited.
That is great. And I love just with the corners and the finished on this, you have multiple ways you can do this as far as the little trim details and stuff around the product.
Yeah, there's different ways. You can see kind of the border on the header. There's other examples where we have doors framed in, windows framed in. So not only is this a great cladding product, it's also a great trim product. You can use this anywhere on the house.
And trim that lasts 50 years, get out, right?
Absolutely.
I can put the paintbrush away is what you're telling me.
It's going to look great for 50 years. And not only that, but we manage the performance warranty up to lifetime. When you think about insects, if you put wood up on your house, insects come in, those beehives that the kids are afraid of, you don't have to worry about that. It's impervious to insects, impervious to rot, impervious to that damage, and we lifetime warranty that.
That is wonderful. Thanks, man. This is great, and I can't wait to put this on my place here coming up.
You're going to love it. Thanks so much for your time.
Awesome, thanks. We'll talk more about this when I do my next project on the front of my own house. You walk down the hardware aisle and you see all these screws and fasteners. What do you have to use to put a deck together? When we come back, we're going to be talking about all those answers to make sure you can do it once, do it right, and of course, do it safe.
You are watching Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy. Welcome back to Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy.
Welcome back. Now we're going to talk about something that I can help you with. This is called Neighborhood Connection, where you send videos to me and I answer those questions. Maybe it's a design question, maybe it's a project you're trying to start, or even that one that you've never finished and you're stuck on it. This is where I can help you out. Now, our first one that came in, this is about plumbing. It is so difficult walking down that plumbing aisle of the home improvement store and you don't know what to do. Now let's answer this really important question.
Now it's time for the Neighborhood Connection, sponsored by The Wall.
Hey Eric, it's Scott. I got a question. I need to fix a water line in the house, and I wanted to know what the best pipe to use was. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. That's a great question. You know, when you've got an older house, it can be even more difficult. Traditionally, with a newer house, I say follow the same stuff you've got so you have that same material throughout the house because it's just easier to maintain it that way. But if you've got an older house where you've got 3 or 4 different materials, you could have CPVC, PEX, copper, you know, old galvanized, that's where you need to just kind of go the right direction. I personally, if you've got the old copper, it's great. The CPVC has created more headaches for me. This stuff, when it gets old, it gets brittle. And there's been a lot of different lawsuits against companies with class actions where this stuff will literally break in the middle of the night. I've had it happen to me and I hear water running in my crawl space, then I got a flood. It's a disaster. Now, PEX is the new way people are doing this, and there's a lot of different kinds of PEX. People see PEX, it's plastic. It's really what new houses are being built with right now. And there's 2 different styles of PEX. There's PEX A and PEX B. Now, the people think PEX is PEX. It's not. The difference is the PEX A, which I like, is much more flexible. So when you're working with it, you can do a lot with it. The PEX B, it really can kink. And when it kinks, you got to throw it away. I can't fix that. If I actually sit here with this and kink it, this has a memory. It tries to come back. I can grab a little bit of heat to it, and this stuff will come right back. A little bit of heat. This will return back, and I can actually use it again, and it's going to be fine. Now the difference is when you're plumbing a whole house with this stuff, there's a huge difference on the inside diameter. This PEX A, which is really great, uses a bigger fitting on the inside. So if I go do 2 or 3 different places in the house with the PEX B, this stuff here really limits that water. Now what happens is with the PEX B system here, like we're talking about, this actually slides in and you have a crimp ring that goes over it. So that's what the difference is. Everything is dependent on the crimp ring. What I like about the PEX A is you can sit there and you put this cap over here and you take an expander tool like this. And so I put this in. And then I have a few seconds to slide this in. And now I have a strong connection. And no matter what happens, this tension is grabbing a hold of the outside of this and holding this together. I am not going to pull this out, where with this, it's all dependent on that crimp ring. Though it takes a little bit more to get one of these tools, you can rent it at a lot of different tool centers. But this thing here, it just takes a little crimp. So on basic repairs, this can be okay. There's nothing really wrong with it, but you have to run a whole system of 3/4 inch or 1 inch and come off for each fixture with this so you get the flow. This can really hurt you if you've got a whole bathroom done on it and you've got a shower head. Nobody likes that little bit of water. So really, to me, I think the PEX A is the way to go for all your repairs. That's an easy way to go. Unless you want to go in and sweat copper pipe, that can be a lot of problems, especially when you're dealing with flame and wood. And that's really what the plumbers do. This is a good way to go. And you've got something that's going to be durable and it's going to last you a long time. And you can use it with the hot and cold water. It's going to be something that's going to hold up for you. And maybe that'll help you on the next plumbing project and get something that's going to give you plenty of water and fairly easy to work with.
Hey, this is Jerry. I had a simple question. I was wondering about redoing my deck this summer. And I know there's a bunch of different nails and fasteners out there. I was wondering what kind of fasteners you recommend. There's so many options. What are the best fasteners to use to redo your deck? Thanks.
Jerry, that's a great question about doing a deck, because one of the weakest points you run into is the fasteners. How many times do we see on the news where the deck pulls away from the house and people get hurt? So what happens is you want to make sure you have all the right fasteners in the right places. First off, when I'm going in and attaching something to the house, you want to be using one of the big structural screws or lags or any one of these kind of structural fasteners. Let's be honest, guys, these little screws that you see right here, the gold ones, these are great for holding something together that doesn't supposed to hold anything. This is not structural, and drywall screws are meant for holding up drywall. That's it. Don't go building a deck with either one of these. That's how people get hurt. Now, if you really want to start using something structural, anything you're building, you should be using one of these structural rated fasteners. And you can tell because they have this big head on them and a nice good grip on them. These here will just bust off. So what's going to happen is you're going to snap the head off and it's worth nothing. Now, when you're doing the brackets, when you're kind of working on the frame, these are going to be your best friend. All these different hangers, and again, don't use these kind of screws. They actually make structurally rated nails for putting these together. So they go through here, hold it together. Depending on what you're trying to do, they even make longer ones to go into thicker wood. That way you get the strongest grab. That's going to hold the deck together. Now, when you're doing trim around there as well, there's a lot of different trim screws that are almost like finish nails, but in the weather outside, they're going to hold together really well. And that's one of those things, it's a good little trick to put these in. They'll never move away, because in our weather here, things expand and contract, and all of a sudden in the summertime it looks good, goes through the winter and you're like, what happened to my deck? This is the secret of holding those things together. Now, when you're working together on a composite deck, there's some things you want to make sure. They have a lot of little clip systems out there that actually slide into the groove on the side of the composite, and they're hidden fasteners. I love doing hidden fasteners on that because it works really well and you don't see any of the screw holes, which means your deck is going to be a lot cleaner because the dirt's not going to get in those. Now, the deal is when you're doing a wood deck, they make color match screws for that, and that's a good way to go. Because one of the things you have, if you use one of these galvanized things on a cedar deck, what can happen is that's where you get the gray streaks. It's always going to look ugly because it's going to discolor the wood around it no matter what finish. So keep these away from any of that cedar or anything finished like that so you don't get that discoloration. But the secret is, if you build it right and inspect that deck every year to make sure it's held together, you'll get a long time out of it. But also remember, when you're doing a deck, the average lifespan is about 15 years. And so if you've got 20 years out of it, it's definitely time to think about repairing it or getting another one. Now, I know you have that question on your project, and it's really easy to submit that video. Just go over to kptv.com or go to the Fox 12 app, and when you look down there, you can submit a video and just look for Around the House Northwest, and you can get on the show, and I can help you with those questions.
Around the House Northwest is sponsored by I-5 Exteriors, family owned, and providing service from Salem to Tacoma for all your roofing needs. Kitchens and More Northwest, building your custom cabinet dreams into reality since 1989. And Gary Boyer, the Mortgage Monkey, client-focused, results-driven. Welcome back to Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy.
Thanks so much for being a part of our very first episode of Around the House Northwest. We have so much we're looking forward to in the coming weeks. Different projects, different home improvement solutions for you, and lots of great information from experts to help you get the most out of your biggest investment, your home. Next week, we're going to lay out the 10 biggest mistakes you can make when you remodel your kitchen, and we'll be taking the show on the road to the Spring Home and Garden Show at the Portland Expo Center. You may have been there in years past. It's a great place to dream about that next big home project and see some of the coolest stuff out there to help you get it done. You can catch me on Good Day Oregon this Thursday morning for a first look at the show. And I'll be appearing live on stage next Saturday at 11 a.m. right after Around the House Northwest airs. Again, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next week on Around the House Northwest.
Thank you for watching Around the House Northwest, presented by PGE and Oregon Kind of Energy.